For most people, football is simple. 90 minutes, a ball, two goals, and a scoreline that tries to summarize everything that just happened. But somewhere in that simplicity, something strange happened. Because right now, as you're watching this, football is being played everywhere. Park stadiums in Manchester, street corners in Rio, dusty fields in Lagos, and tiny phone screens in villages, thousands of miles apart. And in every single place, when a ball hits the basket, people react the same way. They don't need translations, they don't need explanations, they just feel it. So the question is not about what football is, the question is how does something so simple become something that connects over 5 billion people? This is that story. This is Yond Studio, where we break systems shaping out the modern world. Subscribe for more deep dives into hidden systems behind the world's biggest ideas, because every system has a story and every story has something beneath the surface. Before football became a global empire, there was chaos. No rules, no referees, no boundaries. Just people and a ball. In ancient China, there was juju. And in medieval Europe, entire villages could play violent, unpredictable matches that could last for hours, sometimes days. And there was one common thread. It wasn't organized, but it was loved. Because everywhere humans existed, they found joy in the same thing. Chasing something together, competing and belonging. But the problem was simple. There was no universal rule. Every region played different versions, different identities, different chaos. And then came the 1800s, industrial Britain, factories rising, cities expanding, railways connecting everything. In the middle of all this change, people began to organize play. Schools, clubs, workers, all trying to make sense of the same game. In 1863, a meeting in London changed everything. They didn't know it at that time, but they were about to create something that would outgrow them completely. They created rules, they created structure, they created football. And just like that, a local game began its journey toward becoming a global empire. Football has something money cannot buy. Loyalty. People don't just watch football, they inherit it. A father passes a club to a son, a street grows around the stadium, a badge becomes an identity. And that kind of emotional connection is extremely powerful. Businesses noticed, sponsorship noticed, broadcasters noticed. And slowly, football changed. Televisions brought it into homes, then across borders, then across continents. And suddenly, a match in England could be watched in Asia. A derby in Spain could be watched in Africa. Everything became connected. But something else had to happen too. Football stopped being just a sport and it became an attention. A live attention. In a world where attention is the most valuable currency, football became one of the most powerful products on earth. Broadcast rights, sponsorships, merchandise, global branding. Clubs were no longer local, they were global empires, built not just on performance, but on emotions. There was a time when football was instant, a feeling, a moment, a decision made in a split second. That timing is fading. Modern football is measured, tracked, analyzed. Every sprint, every pass, every movement, recorded, processed, and studied. Players now wear GPS trackers, coaches review millions of data points, and analysts look for patterns that the human eye cannot see. And AI has entered the game, predicting injuries, identifying talent, stimulating tactics. Football is no longer just played in data centers. But despite all this, something remains unpredictable. The ball still doesn't care about statistics. And that is why people still watch. Every 4 years, the world changes rhythm. For a few weeks, everything pauses. The World Cup is not just a tournament, it's a global event where nations present themselves to the world. And hosting it is never just about football, it's about power, image, and ambition. Look at Brazil 2014. Massive stadium investments, global attention, long-term debates about cost and legacies. South Africa 2010. A historic moment for the continent. New infrastructure, global spotlight, national pride. Qatar 2022. One of the most expensive sporting events ever created. A statement to the world. Because the World Cup is not just a sport, it's global visibility. And visibility is power. For most of football's history, humans made decisions. Referees guessed, coaches trusted instinct, scouts relied on experience. Now that world is changing. VAR introduced technology into judgment. And with it came debate, fairness versus emotions, accuracy versus flow. But VAR is only the beginning, because behind the scenes, a bigger revolution is happening. Every movement tracked, every pass analyzed, every player profiled. AI now processes matches in minutes, recommending tactics, predicting outcomes, and identifying weakness. Football is becoming a science of advantage. And in an elite competition, small advantages decide everything. But even now, football refuses to be fully controlled. Football doesn't need translation. A goal is universal, a save is universal. It doesn't matter where you are, Accra, London, Sao Paulo, or Istanbul. People feel the same thing. Football is not just a sport, it's an identity, a belonging, a memory. Clubs become cities, cities become cultures, cultures become families. And this is why football spread easily, because everyone, everywhere can belong. Football is often reduced to numbers, goals, transfer, trophies, but none of that explains why it matters. Because football is not about what happens on the pitch, it's about what happens inside people. The tension before kickoff, the silence before a penalty, the eruption after a goal. Football became a global empire, not by design, but by connection. A simple game turned into a shared story, written by billions of people, and still being written today. Whether you call it football or call it soccer, remember this, the game has always been bigger than the name. It has united strangers, inspired generations, and even today, is bringing the world together at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Because every pass, every goal, every celebration becomes part of something larger than any one nation. A story that belongs to all of us. And as long as the ball keeps rolling, the story never ends. This is Yond Studio. We just don't tell stories. We uncover the history, the business, the science, and the system behind the world's biggest ideas. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe because our next story is already waiting. We'll see you in the next one.